Hi, I'm Alia, and today I'll be making Afghani-style squash with curried kale and apples. By adding South Asian spices to some familiar characters from the produce department, I'm creating a sweet and spicy vegetarian entree that's both interesting and satisfying. It's actually based off of a fried pumpkin dish called kaddu that my family literally fights over when we go to Afghani restaurants. I start by roasting 1 butternut squash and 1 acorn squash in the oven at 375 degrees for 45 minutes. Then once they've cooled, I can scoop out the flesh and set it aside. So I start by adding 2 tablespoons of olive oil and then 1 tablespoon of minced ginger and 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Then it's time to add the spices. 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. This step of frying the spices is key in South Asian cooking because it helps develop their flavors and helps them melt into the final dish. Then I add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And tomato paste is this dish's secret ingredient because it adds an acidity to the dish that balances the sweetness of the squash. Then I add all the squash, the vegetable stock, about 2 cups, 8 green cardamom pods, and a pinch of salt. Then this can just bubble away on the stove. Now I'm going to saute the kale and apples. I start with 2 thinly sliced shallots and saute them until they're soft. Then I add 1 tablespoon of curry powder and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And the cinnamon just adds a little extra warmth that brings out the flavor of the apples. And adding cinnamon and apples together is never a bad idea. Then I take 1 bunch of kale torn into bite-sized pieces and saute it until it softens just a little bit and loses its bitter edge. And then I add a big pinch of salt. Then right before taking the kale off the heat, I add 1 diced apple and just warm it through. So I've taken the sauteed kale and apples and layered them on top of the squash, which has absorbed all that liquid and formed a thick, chunky puree. Then I layered that on top of quinoa. And you can use any cooked grain, but quinoa is a great choice because of its high protein content for this vegetarian meal. Then, because this dish is so naturally low in fat and calories, I have some toasted, chopped cashews to sprinkle on top for a little richness and crunch. Cooking with spices is a great, healthy way to liven up everyday vegetables. I hope you enjoy this dish as much as my family does.